we can celebrate some of the great things that are being done by people from MEC. And so we're going to introduce today Mark Knight, who is the founder of Right Chord Music. And has brought some like freebies and stuff, so you know, first come, first clean as always. And over to you, Mark. Thank you.
So I work in access on the second floor. Today I want to talk about my other job. So between the hours of 7:30 or 6:30, sometimes even 6 o'clock this morning, I think it was before that, and 7:50 AM, which is the time I absolutely need to run to catch the train, I run Right Chord Music. And Right Chord Music is a kind of a company I set up to help promote independent, unsigned, emerging music. So what I want to do is talk about kind of why I'm doing it, why I gap early, and also guess how as well. So just kind of kicking it off. So I guess there's about 4 steps to kind of me starting up Right Chord Music. And I always wanted to work with music in some shape or form, but couldn't really work out how or why. I can't play an instrument at all, so that was never an option. I didn't ever really want to work for a record label because I can't really imagine promoting an artist I don't really believe in. So that kind of left me a bit scattered really. And then about 2005, I met a guy called Toby L, who runs a website called rockfeedback.com. And since then actually he's gone on to set up Transgressive Records, home of Foals and many other bands, and also some of you will know him from Love Live. Back in 2005 he was some precocious 18, 20-year-old or whatever he was, and he was running a club night in Islington with a guy called Gordon Raphael. And Gordon Raphael had just produced the first Strokes album, and they were running this club night together. He said, come along, see what you think. And I went along and pretty much went every month for about 3 years. And during that time saw some incredible kind of tipping point bands. So we saw Block Party, Foals, Editors, Kasabian, Libertines played there, you name it. Every kind of upcoming buzz band went through that place. And I remember just thinking, Christ, you know, this kind of 20-something's doing it, what am I doing? Around the same kind of time, I was working for a sponsorship agency called Red Mandarin, and we created a music program for T-Mobile called T-Mobile Street Gigs. And the basic idea was bands playing kind of free gigs in pop-up locations kind of on the street, and T-Mobile would send out kind of these text message blasts to people in the area, come down and see a gig. And I was just pretty much choosing the music for it, so I was kind of programming who I wanted to play, which was just kind of pretty much all the bands I was seeing at the basement bar every month, pretty much. The highlight for me probably was in 2006 when we had the Strokes playing at the Natural History Museum, which was pretty epic. So that was kind of cool, but kind of wanted to do a bit more of that. 2008 came around, and I received a DVD in the post, which, without sounding too dramatic, probably kind of changed my life a bit, I guess. So I was living in a big share house in Waterloo, and one of my housemates at the time had just moved back to Australia. And he sent me this DVD and said, Mark, I've written this song, I made this video, see what you think. And I knew he could play guitar, but had no idea he could sing. He definitely wasn't in the band when I knew him, so wasn't really expecting too much, to be honest. I kind of thought this could be embarrassing, you know, having to kind of say something a bit awkward to a friend. Played this DVD, amazing song, incredible video. The song is called Broken Bones. His band's called Black Chords, and this actual video went on to win a whole bunch of awards. So it wasn't a bad kind of debut, really. And in this note he said to me, I need your help. So we've set up this band. We think we need a MySpace page, but we don't really know what we're doing. Can you help us? And suddenly it was kind of like, well, that's the stars aligning for me. So I was like, okay, maybe I can help. This is my way into music. I can do the marketing bit, they can do the music bit. And you know, with lots of artists had no desire to suddenly become marketeers. So I thought, okay, well I can do that. So I ran his MySpace page, set it up, and also then ran a MySpace page for another artist called Madden. Both those artists went on to be signed, and by 2010, Black Chords were about to release their debut album. So I had this album launch show in Melbourne, in Australia. I was working in London, couldn't get the time off, but absolutely had to be there. So I actually flew to Melbourne for a weekend, which I don't recommend anyone ever does. So through this kind of fog of jet lag, I sat at the side of my stage, sat beside of the stage, with my Nokia phone back then probably, recording the show on my phone, just for my own kind of personal interest. And there was a track they played during the show, which was kind of codenamed Frenchie. It was never actually recorded, never actually released. And it was called that because he sings in French for part of it, and his girlfriend was French, so it was like a song for his girlfriend. And during this song, there's a moment where there's a long guitar sort of solo, and then he comes back to the microphone, and you kind of this kind of low kind of roar, which becomes his scream when he hits his guitar. And it's such a kind of a release moment. I remember just sitting there and I'm feeling the kind of hairs riding the back of my neck. And I was watching this clip over and over again in the airport on the way back, thinking, I absolutely have to manage this band, and absolutely have to do something in music. And that little clip, which I'm going to show you in a second, was the reason I started writing music. And I've never shown it to anyone before, so this is a kind of debut. If Nick saw this, he'd probably be appalled, because after his kind of big scream, he goes slightly out of tune, so look past that. It's about 50 seconds long, so a guitar solo, and then he comes back to my phone. Right? So that's Right Chord back in 2010. It still sending shivers down my spine. It might not to anyone else, but just to me. So I ended up managing in the UK for about 3 or 4 years, organised 2 or 3 of their tours. We ended up being signed to ABC, which is a division of Universal in Australia. Put out 2 albums. Sadly, at the moment, we're on a break, so hopefully we'll come back and release more music, but there's a lot of Black Chord stuff up front, so if you want to grab an album or single, then go for it. So that was Right Chord in 2010, and that's kind of the why. And then if I can hopefully move on to the next page. This is why you never do anything up from PowerPoint. As you see. Okay, so that was the why. And kind of how. So I kind of worked out pretty quickly that if you talk about one band all the time to all your friends, they get really bored of it. So my thinking was, if I wrote about lots of different bands and told lots of people about lots of different bands, when they came to that site, they might also then see Black Chords, and that would help their promotion. So that was kind of my thinking to set up a blog. And I also wanted to bring in the kind of marketing side of it as well. So my kind of initial thing was helping bands behave more like brands, was kind of my start point. And all the music I featured and featured ever since has always had quite a clear focus. So I want it to be kind of incredible, unsigned, independent and undiscovered music around the world. So it's got to look good, it's got to sound good. I don't want anyone on my site who kind of brings down the tone, if you like, or makes it appear that unsigned music isn't great. There's lots of great music out there. And there's a bunch of different tools that I use to make Right Chord music. So firstly, WordPress. I'm not I can't make websites. So being able to use something like WordPress is actually a godsend for me. It makes people with no talent appear to have some talent, which is great. There's a thing called Maker, which is an iPad app. All the kind of graphics on my site, all the design is done on Maker. Again, not a graphic designer, so having something which kind of adds that layer of credibility is really important. Google Drive is kind of, the biggest task for me is processing music. So being able to listen to music on my phone and then literally transfer it into my Google Drive on the move is absolutely amazing. GarageBand, I produce a weekly radio show, which I'll mention in a second. Again, all done through GarageBand. Post from Radium One, which is another company some of you may know, that runs through my site. So any content which I take off my site and post anywhere else goes with a URL. So my site kind of travels with a text, if you like. That's really good. Bringing it back to clients here, 4G, Vodafone 4G, streaming music is, yeah, it makes it a lot easier when you're trying to listen to lots of music. Stamp is a little application that sits in the bottom of my Gmail, which again kind of makes it look more like a professional work email. And I recommend anyone who sets up a company or a blog should have a cat. So this is Cleo, she's my alarm clock. So she gets me up between the hours of kind of 6 to 6:30 every day without fail, including weekends as well. And then where the music comes from. When I started, it was kind of via contact form, so people would contact me, send me music. As time has gone on, a lot of that music is now coming through PR companies and record labels as well. There's a small list there. I guess my kind of favourite part now is Transgressive Records, which is Toby L's record label, and now sending music to me to promote. So it kind of come full circle, and to now be part of that is really kind of rewarding for me. So in terms of the marketing stuff, so music and marketing, the two parts of writing music. Again, I kind of worked out pretty quickly that you can't manage everyone you like. There's not enough hours in a day, especially when you're doing it in the morning. So I set up this thing called pay-as-you-go management. And a lot of unsigned independent artists aren't really making enough money from music to really warrant having a full-time manager. And actually taking away 15–20% of their income when we don't really have an income is kind of pointless anyway. So pay-as-you-go management is no contracts. They come to me for help when they want help, and then they go away when they've got their help. And it's all based around this thing in the middle, which is kind of an ugly PowerPoint slide, but it's called the Music Marketing Planning Cycle. So I kind of worked out that there's 21 steps. I think it's 21, it might be 22. 21 or 22 steps from planning to releasing your music. And the whole thing is about planning to release your music rather than just putting your music out. So one of my kind of biggest bugbears is artists will spend weeks or months or even years writing an album, and they will just put it online without any promotion. There's a guy from The Guardian who writes about music. He says the moment the CD arrives on his desk, it's too late. So he says he wants to hear about the music before it's been released. So the planning cycle is all about the sort of 6 to 8 week window ahead of release to get as many people talking about it in the most efficient way. So that's kind of the thing I go through. I do workshops with them, and I've actually got one next week, in fact. So that's the planning cycle, and there's a whole bunch of guides and articles on the website as well. Just about finishing touches to an audio book called Getting Your Music Heard, which is kind of the planning cycle in an audio book. It's the same kind of thing, but different form of content. We've created this kind of discount and benefits package, so any band or artist who comes to the site can get reduced membership for the unsigned guide, distribution, etc., like access to people that they need for cheaper, basically. And we've also just started a sync business as well, so music we accumulate on the site, which we use in our radio show, is now given to a company who then puts that music into TV and film, so the artists can earn money from their music. So there's a magazine, digital magazine called The Debrief, which some of you may be aware of. So we provided the launch music for their little trailer film. So that was our first sync. And in terms of the music, obviously the blog, far left, that's kind of a home of everything. And I think since we've started, I kind of lose track of it, but between, I think it's over 140 different countries. So people from 140 different countries that come to the website, which is pretty phenomenal from my perspective. And we get about 6,000 listeners a month at the moment. We're just starting to have some advertising there as well. Lost on Radio is our weekly radio show. It started off very much as a podcast, just available on the blog and on iTunes. And then there was a guy who made it for me, so he produced the first 70 episodes, so I was just choosing the music, he was doing all the talking and all the hard work. And then he decided to have a family, which is pretty selfish. So it kind of left me in a situation where I kind of had to carry on, but didn't really want to be the one talking on air, but then kind of had to because anyone else was going to do it. So found myself presenting this thing, horrible, to be totally honest with you, the first few times. I was like dreading it. But actually, we're now up to episode 127, and I think it gets slightly easier each week. I'm not going to change career and become a radio person, but fine. And it's now, we've now got the show onto 7 radio stations in 5 different countries. All small stations, not to the global kind of scale. But we've got US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. So these artists who go on this thing are getting kind of great exposure. And we have about 1,600 subscribers to the podcast every month, and then obviously all the radio station audiences as well. And it's hard to know how many people listen because they're all tiny little stations, but it's helping out those bands, hopefully. And then the RTM Hangout sessions are kind of our attempt to basically take on live promoters. So we kind of realise that, again, if you are a new band, playing live is pretty terrible most of the time. It sounds bad, a few people go for shows, you have to bring a load of people with you, you don't get paid, you might travel across the country. So we said, like, well, how can we bring the power back to the artists? So the idea with the sessions is they play from their bedroom or their living room or their practice space, wherever it might be, and it's streamed live over Right Chord Music via Google Hangouts on air. So we did a few sessions to kind of try it out, and then in 2013 we ran the first Google Plus Hangout Festival. So we had 27 artists from 4 countries playing over 3 days, and over the course of the weekend I think we attracted about 4,500 viewers online. Which is still kind of modest, but the kind of big win for me was we had an artist called She Makes War who's brilliant, from Bristol, and an average show for her, she might attract, let's say, 50 to 100 people. When she played live for us for a Hangout Festival, we had over 700 people viewing, which was pretty incredible. And that kind of to me says there's an audience for people, you know, for that kind of music out there. LiveMusicSession.tv is kind of a new baby, part funded by the Thrive Fund at MEC, I should say. And the idea is, it's a website that I don't have to do any work on. It's a totally lazy website, and it pulls in RSS feeds from 13 different video producers, so the likes of Balcony TV, Safe for Sound, Prof Sessions, you name it. So whenever they upload a new video on their YouTube channel, it comes into LiveMusicSession.tv. It's like a kind of constant streaming music channel. And it also sends out a tweet as well, so I literally have to do nothing. It's great. So that's that. And then the Daydream Club. So I still manage one band. If you came to Music Week, you might have seen those guys play. So they're doing really well. They're still self-released. They did a Burberry campaign a couple of years ago. They recently had 2 tracks on Spotify, and those tracks racked up 1 million plays in 2 weeks, which is pretty unheard of for an unsigned band. And we've just put out a new single, which is just kind of picking out radio players we speak, hopefully. So that's for Daydream Club. And then people always kind of say, well, you know, so who have you featured on your site? Who's gone on to become famous? And it's kind of, at this level, it's so low anyway that even the people who've gone on to be famous are still relatively new in terms of their fame. But I guess the kind of biggest names I can think of, Foxes, who won the Grammy a few weeks ago. We had him as an Artist of the Week, I think back in about 2011, 2012. Catfish and the Bottlemen, kind of enemy darlings, a couple of years ago. And that little black logo, we post all of our articles on Pinterest and those places. And that little logo on Pinterest still gets repinned about 10-15 times a week at the moment. So they're doing great things for us. Lapsley, those you come across Lapsley, she features on the new Annie Mac compilation. She's like 17 from Liverpool. Incredible. There's a song she does with a duet where she actually detunes her own vocals to sound like a man, and then she sings with herself. Check it out, it's incredible, really good. Sounds weird. And then Half Moon Run, probably one of my favourite bands I've ever had on Right Chord Music. 3 Canadian brothers. We played at Latitude a couple of years ago. I think they're writing new material at the moment, and they're really awesome as well. We used to use them for the Lost Radio show. And on the pay-as-you-go side, so the kind of people I actually kind of help in terms of manage, a couple of quick names. So Jules Davis, top left. these two girls, two sisters with an incredible story. They gave up their jobs, bought a camper van, and literally will tour the country continuously earning money from music. So when people say you can't earn money from music, well, you can if you're prepared to really graft. And these guys really do. They've been supporting Rebecca Ferguson and Eels recently. Band in the Middle, Top Middle, Shy Nature. So I worked on their first single, helped them with the marketing planning for that. That first single ended up being played on Radio 1, which as an unsigned band is pretty much unheard of. They've now been signed by a company that looks after Ash, so they're destined for great things, I'm sure. And then bottom right, just mentioned a guy called Officer, who I'm working with at the moment. He's put out his second single yesterday, and he's been picking up radio play as well, so he's doing really well. And that's kind of it really. So I'm going to say hello on the website, rightmusic.co.uk or .com, both will take you to the same place. livemusicsession.tv, check that out, and then you can find this in all the places you would kind of expect to find most things online, I guess. Help yourself with free CDs and stuff. Any questions?
That's great. Cheers, Mike. Do you mind answering any questions? Has anyone got any questions about this? Yes.
Mark, when do you sleep?
Kind of a gap in between, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. This morning I got up really early. I got up at about 5 o'clock this morning, so I did a couple of blog posts this morning before I came in. But yeah, fine time to sleep, don't you? Yeah.
How much time does this take for you?
The thing is, you can never do enough. You can always do more. So when I first started, especially when I was managing Black Holes, I was living alone. I think I was single at the time as well. It might be in a kind of correlation, I'm not sure. But I was kind of finding it was taking over my life a little bit. And you can get completely obsessed with it, like anything, like going to the gym or something. So it's about balance. And I think now it's like, I've got a full-time job, I have a wife, I have 2 kids, I've got friends, and you have to kind of get that balance. So it's like, you do as much as you can, really.
What's been your biggest challenge setting all this up?
Time, I guess, really. Time and kind of technical know-how, but I think the thing about technical know-how nowadays is that it's only a Google search away. So on the morning of, when I had to make the radio show for the first time, I literally had to record it in the morning, and I had to work out how to edit and record it in the morning. So I was literally frantically watching YouTube videos to figure it out. Just about got away, I think. But so yeah, I think it's just sort of just only time.
So 2 questions. What's the future in terms for you guys? And also, obviously, working in a video agency, do you use your contacts to kind of favour to get your band sort of see potentially?
What's next? I've got so many ideas in my head all the time. That's the problem. So that's probably another challenge. Is almost trying to filter out what's good and what's not good. Actually, I only had one other slide. So this is kind of the thing which I go through in my head probably on a daily basis. So when I have a new idea, I'm always thinking like, what's the impact going to be? How much effort is involved? Does it fit with my core idea of what right chord music is? And is it going to earn any money? The last one is kind of a new addition. That's my wife talking. The thing I've got going at the moment in my head is taking on distribution. So how bands get their music out there. So as of yesterday, I think it is, I met with a friend and we talked about this thing. We've got a company name, it's called Major Label, without the E, obviously, for label, very fashionable. So that's a new thing. Audio books, loads of stuff, I don't know. And then the second question, not enough is the answer. So I don't know, when I set this up, I deliberately didn't want any of my friends to like our Facebook page, if that makes any sense. So I didn't want to send that email going, can you just like us on Facebook? Because I don't want anyone to not, if they want to find us, they find us, but I don't want to have like fake hype, if that makes any sense. So it's always been kind of very pure. In terms of MEC stuff, if anyone wants to help with SEO, that would be great. But yeah, very few occasions when work kind of collides with this end of music. I wish it did more, to be honest, but it tends to be kind of more shiny pop rather than grungy rock. So,
I have a question about like payment or reimbursement of your artists. How do the bands that you represent, make money? And also, is the day of bands making a living from money making a life from playing music? Are those days kind of over unless you get signed early on?
Yeah, I mean, making money from music at this end of the scale is really hard. So like, Black Chord, who I spoke about at the front, when they headlined the Barfly, which is a kind of small venue, obviously in Camden, 4-piece in a band, they might have got paid £100 to do that. Then you factor in, obviously that's split by 4, you factor in the taxi to get to and fro maybe, the equipment they might have had to hire for an Australian band, and you haven't got any money, you've lost money. So the only way really, if an unsigned band is making money from music, is through sync deals. So if their music gets put into TV shows, film, etc. Getting their music into TV adverts is practically impossible unless you're a signed artist. So the Daydream Club at the moment are making more money from Spotify than anything else, which is kind of like, you don't hear that. So you hear a lot of kind of slagging on Spotify. You have to obviously reach a certain level, but they've hit their 1 million streams on Spotify. And in terms of where they make their money, in terms of sales and CDs or live, Spotify is actually their biggest revenue stream at the moment. So for unsigned bands who are keeping all that revenue, Spotify is actually doing a good thing. Okay.
If it's pay as you go, say a band kind of gets signed and they do really well.
Yeah.
You'd obviously only make money out of it when they're working with you. So if someone was supportive and was successful, you would really reap that success. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. It's purely, I get paid £45, and I've tried various different price points, and that seems to be about the moment when it pretty much switched off. So I was thinking it was like £10 per person in the band, and then a little bit extra. So yeah, that's purely for that 1.5 hour session or whatever it is, and then they go away. And if they end up, so like Shy Nature, who I probably would say the one that got away, so I was debating whether to manage them full time, and then they got offered a management contract by the guys who manage, big famous bands, and that's when I couldn't compete with them anyway, to be totally honest. But it is what it is. It's like, I don't have the time, I can do what I can do the time I can do it, and it helps them out hopefully and gets them to the next level. So yeah.
You're clearly really passionate about this, so would you ever think of reaching a point where you would take all the experience you have and try and make a proper level like managing bands, or go into a larger record label and say, this is what I have, how can I take this further, or how can I help you guys out?
I've done a few pay-as-you-go sessions for small labels and management, and kind of said, you know how to produce music, but you know how to market music, so I've kind of done a few sessions like that. But I don't know if I'd ever, my kind of point at the start really still remains, I couldn't work on an artist I didn't believe in, so if I was being told to promote, I don't know, One Direction or something, no offense, One Direction I don't think I could, to be honest. I kind of feel a bit sick at night, do you know what I mean, if that's what I was doing. So no, I don't think so. I think it's kind of like, this is my little home, If there was a label maybe that was kind of doing the same thing, then maybe, but probably not. Probably not.
No other questions? Okay, we'll just, I would say thank you.
And help yourself to anything at the front if you want anything at the front as well.